When it comes to your paid promotion tracking, there's two metrics you want to know to make sure you're not wasting your money. Number one is earnings per lead. You can work out what this is by dividing your total revenue by your total number of leads. In this example, I have $100,000 revenue and 20,000 leads, so my earnings per lead is $5. The second metric you want to know is cost per lead. In this example, my ad spend on my piece of content is $1,000, and I've collected 200 leads from my content upgrade. So my cost per lead is $5. You can see on the screen I have an example of where one of my ads takes people to an article with a content upgrade. All you need to do is put a tracking pixel on the thank you page people land on after opting in for your content upgrade, so you can track how many leads you generate and what your cost per lead is. With a $5 earnings per lead and $5 cost per lead, you're breaking even on your ad spend and acquiring new customers without having to pay anything. This is a perfect example of the type of results you want to try and aim for. As long as your cost per lead is less than or equal to your earnings per lead, you have a successful paid content promotion campaign. Now let's go over some what-if scenarios when it comes to you actually tracking your own content marketing campaign. So what if you don't know your content goal? So if you don't know what this is, one good way to think about it is to look at what your company level goal is. So let's say, for example, your company has a revenue goal of $1 million, and you decide that you want your inbound content channel to generate $500,000 of that $1 million goal. Now you know what your goal is, and you can map out your funnel using what I taught in the content marketing metrics lesson to find out how many unique page views you need to hit your goal. So what if you don't know what your conversion rates are for each part of your funnel? So if you're mapping out your funnel and you don't know what your conversion rates are, then you need to use your best estimate. After you start producing and promoting content for a few months, you can then go back and revisit your conversion rates with the new data that you have. So what if you're tracking your content marketing efforts but you're not actually hitting your goal? So if you're not hitting your goal, then you need to either review the goal that you set, or you need to look into the individual promotion metrics that you're tracking, double down on the ones that are working the best, and stop spending time on ones that aren't producing results. So now what if you only have $1,000 a month to budget for content marketing? So if you've only got a $1,000 a month budget, depending on what your goal is, you're likely going to have to do most of the work yourself. Your biggest leverage point is going to be the production quality of your content, because your content is an asset that you can reuse over and over again. You should spend the money on high quality content production and editing, and then do all the promotion yourself. And the last question here, what if you do everything I taught and it doesn't work? So if you followed my content production system, you've tried all the promotion tactics I've shown you, and you're tracking your metrics, but your content still isn't getting any traction, then there are one of two things that could be wrong. Number one is the content you produced and the audience you promoted it to weren't the right match. So in this scenario, you should make sure you're running a Facebook poll in a relevant group related to your audience so you can find out what content they want. Or you need to get on the phone with your customers and people in your market to ask questions about what they're interested in learning. The second thing that could be wrong is your content doesn't provide any unique insights or new learnings on a topic. In this scenario, no one's going to take notice of your content and share it because it's stuff they've already seen. You need to either hire someone who has a history of past performance producing original and unique content, or you need to revisit the lesson I taught on successful content types and compare the standard of your content to what's been successful. When it comes to your paid promotion tracking, there's in Module 5, I'm going to show you 3 pieces of content I produced and promoted for 3 different websites. First, I'm going to go over an example from my own agency. Second, I'm going to show you what I did for Noah Kagan on okdog.com. And third, I'm going to show you a video I recorded while promoting a piece of content for sumo.com so you can see what I do in real time. The first case study I'm going to go over is from my own content agency. I'm going to show you how I got started doing content marketing and how I was able to get Noah and other influential people like the co-founder at HubSpot and CEO at Growth Hackers to find and share my content. So when I first started content marketing, my goal was to write 1 article per week for 12 weeks to see how it would go. I'm a big perfectionist, so instead of building a WordPress blog and getting distracted with the theme, layout, and plugins, I got started quickly by creating a publication on Medium with a custom domain name. After writing 12 articles, I looked at my Medium publication statistics and saw that one piece of content got 5 times more traffic than the next best article. Back at this stage, I didn't know how to promote content and I didn't have an email list. You're probably looking at this thinking 5,000 views on one article isn't a lot, but I'll show you why the view count doesn't matter if you're getting the right people to see your content. One of the first people who shared my most viewed article was Dharmesh Shah, the co-founder and CTO at HubSpot, who had 50,000 followers on Medium. In the article, I reverse engineered HubSpot's marketing strategy and tagged Dharmesh's Medium handle in a section of the article that talked about the founders. Once I saw Dharmesh had shared the article, I then leveraged that social proof to promote the article to other SaaS founders and influencers. Here's an example of where I sent an email to Sean Ellis, the founder of Growth Hackers, including a social proof screenshot of where Dharmesh shared the article. I didn't just send this email to Sean though, I also sent it to over 200 other software founders and other people in the software industry who I thought would find it interesting. I built 3 different outreach lists, one for my Dream 100 who I wanted to win as clients, one for SaaS influencers who I wanted to share the content if they liked it, and one for venture capital firms who I wanted to refer clients to my agency. By doing all this outreach using one piece of social proof, I was able to get some very influential people in the software industry to read and share the article. Here's an example of where Sean Ellis shared the article with his 116,000 followers on Twitter, plus where he also shared it on the official Growth Hackers Twitter account that had 182,000 followers. Not everyone who I outreached to shared the article. However, from the small group of people who did, more software founders like Noah Kagan at Sumo and Kyle Porter at SalesLoft also came across the article and shared it. Here's an example of an outreach email I sent to one of the managing partners at venture capital firm OpenView Venture Partners. Scott, the managing partner, connected me with 3 different people on his team who could help me get more eyeballs on my content and refer my agency to their portfolio companies. The connection Scott made with Gail led to my one article with 5,000 views getting syndicated to the OpenView Venture Partners content site, which was getting around 200,000 views per month. That article was also included in the OpenView Venture Partners email newsletter, which went out to around 200,000 software leaders. With all the sharing from my email outreach and publishing of the article on the OpenView website, my one piece of content with 5,000 views started getting seen by everyone in the software industry. That's when Kip Bodner, the CMO at HubSpot, sent me a message to set up a call. This is also around the same time that I got this personal message from Noah asking to partner up on a piece of content for Noah's personal blog, OKDog, that he would help promote to 300,000 people. Now, when I was promoting this article, you need to remember I had no email list. None of my Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn accounts had more than a few hundred followers, and it was the first time any people in the software industry had even heard my name. I was able to get all this traction by getting one influential person in the software industry to share my article. I then used cold outreach via email with a screenshot of that social proof to get more people interested in reading it. I'm showing you this case study because it proves you don't need to create a lot of content, have a big content budget, or have an existing audience to get massive results when you're just starting out with content marketing. Set a goal for yourself like I did of producing one piece of content per week for 12 weeks, following my content production system, and then follow my content promotion system to make your content spread. In this case study, I'm going to go over what happened after Noah sent me a message about writing a post on his personal blog, okdog.com. I'll show you the exact process I used to find the topic to write about, then how I promoted the article to be one of Noah's most shared posts, even outperforming his viral giveaways. In the last case study, I showed you how I got 5,000 views to one piece of content. In this case study, I'm going to show you how I got 6 times that amount of traffic to Noah's article in the first month. When I wrote this piece of content for Noah, I only had one goal. That was to make this Noah's most shared piece of content of all time. I tried 30 different promotion tactics, both free and paid. Now I'm going to show you the 10 tactics that worked the best and the exact order I did the promotion items in so you can follow along for your own content. Then at the end, I'm going to show you 10 promotion tactics that didn't work so you can save your time. The first thing I did when Noah messaged me to write a post for him was I ran this poll inside a Facebook group. After writing the HubSpot article, I didn't know which software company would be best to write about. So by running this poll inside a Facebook group full of software founders, I was able to clearly see that most people wanted to see a piece of content reverse engineering Intercom. If I didn't run this poll, I would have just been guessing, which could have made it harder for me to promote the content if less people were interested in the company. After I'd written the post and it had been published to Noah's blog, the first thing I did was make a post inside the same Facebook group where I ran the poll. In the comments section of the post, I tagged everyone who voted on Intercom. This tactic, along with the incentive I gave people to share and comment on the post, helped this one post get more visibility within the group. Because my post was getting the most amount of likes, comments and shares, it got shown at the top of the group and resulted in 134 likes, 104 comments and 54 shares. This is what helped me get the initial surge of traffic and social sharing I needed to get the post to start to spread. Then because the actual piece of content was so actionable and useful, more people started sharing it. The third thing I did was email my list. At this stage, I only had 262 contacts on my email list. In total, 63 people who I sent the email to clicked over to read the article. The fourth thing I did was make these posts on my agency's Facebook page and on my personal Twitter profile. My Facebook page and Twitter profile had less than 100 followers, so my goal wasn't to get organic traffic. My goal was to publish these posts, build social proof on them in the next step, and then advertise them. Here's a screenshot of how I built up social proof on both my social media posts. You can see I linked to both the Twitter and Facebook posts, asking people to like, comment, and share. You can either do this inside a community group, mastermind group, or within your own company. Another way to build this social proof is to first boost the post to your own followers on social media, because they will know who you are and be more likely to like, comment, and share. The sixth thing I did after building up social proof on my Facebook and Twitter posts was I advertised those posts to cold audiences on Facebook and Twitter. On Facebook, I ran ads to two audiences. The first audience was a 1% lookalike audience of software influencers, who I manually built a list of. To make sure the audience was targeted, I also narrowed it down by only including people who had an interest in marketing and software as a service. I spent $170 advertising the Facebook post to that audience, which got me the cheapest click cost of all the audiences I tested. The second audience was a list of around 50 different job titles of CEOs, CMOs, and marketing managers, narrowed down again by only including people who had an interest in marketing and software as a service. I ran the ad to this audience with $164 ad spend because I wanted to get my content in front of more software leaders. On Twitter, I advertised the post to three different audiences. The first audience was anyone who followed the 500 Startups Twitter handle. I picked this audience because I knew startup founders would be interested in learning how Intercom grew. The second audience was anyone who followed the SaaStr Twitter handle and had a job title in the C-suite. I picked this audience because I knew that executives who follow SaaStr would also be interested in this content. The third audience was anyone who followed the Intercom Twitter handle. I picked this audience because I knew a large percentage of people who followed Intercom would also be interested in how their company grew. In total, I spent $353 running paid ads on Twitter. And across both Facebook and Twitter, I ended up spending $688 to get 364 new people to see the content. The seventh thing I did was post the content on a community site called Growth Hackers. This post went to the top of Growth Hackers without me having to do anything to promote it. The reason this happened was the type of content was a perfect match for the community, so people organically upvoted it and it got 9,600 views. The eighth thing I did was email a list of influencers in the software industry about the article. Here's an example of where I emailed Dave McClure, the founder of 500 Startups. Although the email looks personalized, I actually used an email template with fields for the first name and name of the influencer's company. Wherever you see the words 500 Startups and Dave's first name, those were the custom fields I used to make the email look personalized. Not every influencer I emailed shared the content. However, in this case, Dave really liked the article and shared it to his 365,000 Twitter followers. The ninth thing I did was email podcast guests who had been on the SaaStr podcast. I did this because I listened to the SaaStr podcast and knew that most people were executives at software companies who would enjoy the content and might want to hire my agency. On the screen is an example of where I emailed Mark Organ, the CEO at Influitive. At this time, Influitive was one of the top 100 tech companies on Deloitte's Technology Fast 500. And you can see from the email that by using custom fields for the podcast number, first name, and company name, Mark answered my cold email referring me to his company's head of content. The 10th thing I did was get 4 tacos hand-delivered to the Intercom Dublin office for the company's 4 co-founders. I included a handwritten note thanking Intercom's founders for all their hard work to make this piece of content possible, and inviting Des Traynor, the company's chief strategy officer, to come on Noah's podcast. I then followed up with Des using this email and was able to land Noah a new podcast guest. The reason the tacos in this interview are important is because Noah's primary goal at this time was growing his podcast to 100,000 downloads. So landing the podcast interview was icing on the cake to help Noah hit his goal after all the other promotion I did. Here's a summary of every promotion tactic I did and the result it generated. No one tactic produced all of the results. It was by doing the tactics in order from tactic 1 to tactic 10 that allowed me to get momentum and generate so much buzz around the content. The Facebook poll was done in a Facebook group I found with high level engagement and got 76 responses. My community group promotion was then done in the same Facebook group, tagging people who voted in the poll to get 104 comments and 54 shares from a relatively small 5,000 member group. My email list was small, so I only got 63 clicks from my email. However, the bigger your audience is, the more clicks you'll likely get. I posted on Facebook and Twitter about the content, and then by using the like, comment, share method, I was able to get 30 likes, comments, and shares across both the posts. I then spent $688 to advertise both posts and get another 364 clicks. That's not a huge amount of clicks, but the audiences that I advertised to were very targeted to fit my target reader. I then posted on Growth Hackers, which got 9,600 views to the Growth Hackers post and more traffic to the article. My influencer outreach campaign led to a tweet about the article to 365,000 people, and my Dream 100 VC and podcast guest email outreach landed me with new client offers. Finally, I sent tacos to the company who I wrote the article on and was able to win a podcast guest for Noah. I'm showing you all of this so you can adapt these promotion tactics to your business and focus on what works. In this next table, I'm going to go over 10 promotion tactics that didn't work. I want to show you this so you can see that when you're promoting a piece of content, not everything you try is going to work. In this example, I posted my content on inbound.org, which was a community site for marketers owned by HubSpot, but the post only got 24 views. I tried other community sites as well, like Hacker News and Reddit, but neither of those posts got any upvotes. I also tried posting on Dig, but never heard back about my submission. I tried finding relevant LinkedIn groups that had over 100,000 members, but even with the large member base, my post only got 1 like. I also tried posting in a large 100,000 plus member Facebook group, but compared to the small 5,000 member Facebook group I posted in, I hardly got any results. My post in the 100,000 member Facebook group only got 9 comments and 5 shares. I opened a new StumbleUpon account, posted on it, and ran $50 worth of ads. It ended up getting stumbled 301 times, and the ad generated 238 visits to the StumbleUpon post, but I had no visibility into how many people actually visited the article. What was common across all 10 of these tactics that didn't work was I was trying to go after large groups that didn't have highly engaged audiences. The size of a group or community isn't a good indication of how successful your content promotion will be. What I found is that it's actually a lot harder to promote your content in larger groups because there are much more posts to compete against. Also, if you're trying to post on community sites, you need to check that the audience is a good match. On Hacker News, there are a lot more engineers than software founders hanging out on that site. And on Inbound, there are a lot of digital marketing professionals, but not a big audience of software founders. When I focused on groups, sites, and cold emails to software founders and people directly involved in the software industry, that's when I got the most traction. Those people found my content interesting and inspiring because it was about a software company they could relate to and be inspired by. When you promote your content, don't make the same mistakes I did. Make sure you only promote to people who you know will find your content interesting. You'll save yourself time and you'll make sure your content gets to the people who it can help the most. The final list of tactics I want to go over is 10 things I tried that may or may not work. I couldn't actually tell how well most of these tactics work because most of the items involved one-to-one outreach without using a tracking link. The first item is where I posted my content on QPromote. Q is a service where people sign up to share content based on different topic-related categories, so they can build their own social media audience by promoting pre-vetted quality content. The issue is you don't know who the audience of the people promoting your content to are. Also, the amount of clicks you get is limited by the number of people who are signed up to share in the category you select. I promoted my content in the SaaS category and got 44 clicks over 30 days. So for a $40 promotion, it cost me 90 cents per click. 30 days later, I re-promoted the post in the marketing category and it got 386 clicks over 30 days for a 10-cent cost per click. Because more people were signed up to the marketing category than the SaaS category, I was able to get more clicks, but it was still impossible to tell what type of people had clicked. Another tactic I tried was posting in a Slack group, but again I couldn't really tell how well this worked because in Slack groups a lot of people read threads and click on links, and I wasn't using a tracking link to track it. One of the biggest things I did to try and hustle to get more traffic for my content was employing an assistant to tweet to different people using my own Twitter account. The first thing I asked my assistant to do was tweet to people who had mentioned the Intercom handle in one of their tweets from January 1 to May 31. My post went live on May 31, so I wanted to message all the people in the past few months who had engaged with Intercom on Twitter. It was hard to track how successful this was because I didn't use a tracking link. However, there were close to 100 people who replied to my tweet, happy with the content I'd shared with them. There were only a handful of people that replied, wondering why I tweeted the content to them. With the positive responses I'd been getting from tweeting to people who'd mentioned Intercom in their tweets, I got my assistant to start sending tweets to more relevant audiences. I researched the most shared article on Intercom using BuzzSumo and found it was a piece of content on Forbes. I figured that if people were sharing Intercom's Forbes article, then they'd love to read the piece of content I produced on Intercom. So I got my assistant to tweet to every person who had shared the Forbes article. I also got him to tweet to people who had shared my HubSpot article on Twitter and inside their email newsletters because I knew if they were willing to share my last piece of content on HubSpot, then they'd also love this piece on Intercom. Finally, when I did all my email outreach to my Dream 100 influencers, VCs, and podcast guests, I tracked down who had clicked the link to my piece of content in the email. If they didn't click the link, then I got my assistant to send them a tweet. I'm giving you this list of promotion items so you can decide for yourself which could be a good fit for your content. Just make sure when you're doing them, you use a tracking link so you can get a good idea of how well they work. I was trying to move fast and do a lot of promotion items at once to make my piece of content one of Noah's most shared pieces of content in the shortest possible time. So I forgot to use tracking links for my social media outreach, but don't forget to do it yourself. Everything I did helped make my Intercom post one of Noah's most successful posts of all time. After 30 days of seeing the results, that's when Noah sent me this message asking to help him grow Sumo's content team. In the next case study, you'll get to watch my computer screen as I promote one of Sumo's most successful pieces of content after flying over to Austin to go help Noah. In Module 5, I'm going to show you 3 pieces of content